Welcome to Both Sides of the Coin. This is a sports talk show where the facts do matter and political correctness does not. We'll probably get into some heated discussions, but at the end of the day, we'll be able to shake hands and stay friends. I'm here with my man JB. What up, JB? How you doing, my man?
What's going on? How's it going tonight?
Doing all right. A little later than usual. Had some mix-ups with timing, but we are here and ready to get into it. So why don't we just get right down to it? Always like to start during football weeks with our rankings. I usually go first, so I'm going to give that honor to you today. Why don't you take the lead on this one?
Wow, I get to go first. What's going on tonight?
I know. Ladies first.
Wow. Wow. I don't know if I like that one.
Had to throw it in there.
All right. So top five. Pretty
Yes.
simple. Gonna keep the Cardinals at number one. All their problems have been without Murray. I think that they're right now. They responded after they lost really well. I like who they are. Number two. See, this is a toss up, and I wrote an article on the Inscriber magazine presented by Sideline Sports on the sports pages. It's a toss up between the talk of last year, Tampa Bay and New England. I'm going to go New England this week because of their winning streak.
Wow.
And they went into Buffalo in a bad weather game.
Wow.
And took care of the Buffalo Bills. It's ugly.
Did they take care of them, or did the Bills take care of themselves?
Well, the Bills are flawed. We all know that. We all talk about how the Bills have no running game, and that was a game you need a running game in. So I'm going to throw New England at number two, followed by Tampa Bay. Then you got Green Bay, and then number five. I mean, what do you want to put at number five? I'm going to go with your team, the Dallas Cowboys. I like who the Dallas Cowboys are this year, but they're the NFL right now. You got 5, 6 teams at 8-4. You can throw any team in at number five, and they're all about the same. But Dallas defense has come a long way. They need to win these games coming up so they can get home field for some of the games in the playoffs before they got to go to Arizona. So, but right now I think that they're the next best team after Green Bay and Arizona in the NFC. So I'll give them number five. What about you?
So I'm similar. I have the Cardinals at number one. They're 10-2. They've done really well with Colt McCoy as their quarterback. Are they 2-1 with Colt McCoy? And they're going to get a healthy Kyler back. I actually think this injury plays a little bit better to them because, Kyler is going to be healthy going into the playoffs, most likely. He's not going to have a 17-game season under his belt. He's going to have a 12-game season under his belt. So he's going to go into the playoffs healthy. I think their defense is better than people thought, and they're in one of the toughest divisions in football, and they're 10-2. I think they're the clear-cut number one team to beat. Number two, I'm going with a team who I think is going to be number two, who has been playing significantly better, and this is pretty much our only difference in the entire top five. But I just think their defense is playing significantly better. Their offense is going to be playing better. I'm going with the Chiefs. I think they are a team you don't want to play right now. They won ugly. They won with defense in defensive games. But their offense is starting to come around. You can see it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back, I think, is clearly changed their offense for the better. They actually have somewhat of a running game instead of nothing. You see Mahomes starting to take the little dinks and donks, and everybody was play cover 2 and bracket bracket Hill, and you'll be good to go. They made the adjustment. Took a little time. I mean, look, the Bucs were what? Were they 7-5 last year, and then went on to win the Super Bowl? Sometimes you gotta make changes. Their defense. I truly believe their defense is geared towards more shootout type games. They play better in shootouts, and they don't play good in closer games. But they have a pass rush and they can cover in man coverage. that's their style, and they got exposed a little bit. But I see them coming back and being. They're in my eyes the team to beat in the AFC right now. I don't think there's a better team in the AFC. I just don't. Number 3, I have the Packers, kind of by default. I'm actually lower on the Packers right now. I think their defense is playing above their heads, and I think Aaron Rodgers is good. But I just think that something's been off with their offense all year. They just haven't been that dominant offense that we've seen in years past. So I'm still going to put them at 3 because, I mean, hey, they're what, 9-3 right now, 9-4. I just
9-3, yeah.
Yeah, you have to put them. You have to put them in there. And they beat the Bucs, right? Pretty sure they did. So you have to put them above the Bucs. So I put the Bucs at 4. I think that the question for them is going to be: is Antonio Brown done for the year or not? Because if he's done for the year, with obviously a topic we're going to get into later. I mean, I know he's suspended for 3 games now, but I've heard rumors they could release him. You know, it's a whole big hoopla. And I think that when you face good teams like the Packers, you're going to lose those games because you don't have that weapon to blow the top off the defense. So, you know, I'm going to stick them at 4 for now. And number 5, you know, it's really between 3 teams, I think. The Patriots, the Rams, and the Cowboys. I take the Patriots off because, the Cowboys beat them in New England in a game where, if you watch that game, the penalties were atrocious, clearly one-sided, and they still ended up winning. So I'm going to go Cowboys over them, and I think the Cowboys and the Rams rosters are just better rosters. They're just a better overall team, both sides. Offense and defense. Defense is obviously a little closer. Patriots have a good defense, but offense is clearly both of them are better on offense. So I eliminate the Patriots. So it comes down to Cowboys and Rams for me. So I think the Rams probably have a better defense on paper, but I think the Cowboys have a better opportunistic defense. They have a lot more younger guys. They have a lot more turnover type guys. And I just think that they're getting healthy, and they've been playing good without having all their stars. Randy Gregory's been out 3 games. DeMarcus Lawrence has been out since week 2 or week 3. Micah Parsons is coming into his own. Trayvon Diggs is coming into his own. I think losing guys like who was the linebacker they drafted out of LSU? I can't think of his name. He was drafted in the 3rd round. He tore his ACL. That's definitely a loss, but I just think that their defense is clear. I mean, they were the worst defense in the league last year. One of the worst defenses they've ever had. And I told you this, and I'm going to keep tooting this horn because I said this. I said hiring Dan Quinn and changing from a 3-4 to a 4-3 is going to make immense changes. They have the talent. The talent wasn't the issue last year. They were out of position. They didn't know the scheme. You're changing a scheme on these guys who've been running this for 10 years. Their entire career, they've been a 4-3. Now you're switching to a 3-4 in a year where there's no OTAs. There's no preseason practice. It was a short year with COVID, and you're switching a whole defensive scheme? It was a dumb idea, and Ken Norton got fired, and he should, because he was one of the worst. He was a moron. The whole thing was stupid. So I'm not surprised. I'm really not. A lot of people are. I'm not surprised. I called it from the beginning of the year. They were going to be a much better defense. I didn't think they were going to be this good, but Micah Parsons was clearly an addition that you couldn't have predicted, and he's clearly a major reason why they've gotten so much better. But the big reason I'm going to put them at number 5 is I just think their offense has so much more potential than the Rams does. I mean, I think what the Rams are, right? They're Cooper Kupp. They're going to throw him a bunch of passes. They don't really have much of a run game. And
right
they have Matthew
now,
Stafford.
I'm going to interrupt you right now. Game in January, playoffs. Who do you trust? Who do you trust? Dak or do you trust
I don't think
Matthew
that's a
Stafford?
question. Dak
Obviously, I'll
is
go with Dak. I'm a
Dak is
Giant fan,
proven.
and I'll take Dak all day over Stafford.
He's proven he can win in the playoffs.
You're gonna run the ball. Who do you want to give the ball to? You want to give the ball to Zeke?
Well, that's the thing too. Zeke hasn't been healthy. I think he's going to get healthy.
Exactly.
I think this extended, mini bye is going to help significantly. And I think you have to remember, their offense has looked flat for a couple weeks now. But they played 3 games in 12 days during a time where COVID was running rampant through their entire team. They had no coach. They had 3 coaches that were gone. Their star wide receiver that was gone. Things are just coming back to normal. So I think these next few weeks for them will be telling. Are they going to go back to that just dominant style offense? I mean, last week was the first week where I saw their offensive line get bullied. They got bullied by New Orleans. But Philbin, who is a former head coach and now their offensive line coach, was gone. He was gone all for the last week and a half because he had COVID. So I think, you can script the first 10 plays, right? But making those adjustments are what matter. And I think you could clearly see they weren't making adjustments. And that's coaching. It's coaching. And I think that this whole COVID thing had a bigger impact than you're seeing being talked about. And I just
doubt about that.
I just think that now that this is going to kind of be behind them, they're going to come back to where they're supposed to be and right in time for the end of the season. December football is when it matters. So now's the time. It's a fork in the road. Are they going to continue puttering, or are they going to get back to that slam you in the face? You can stack the box, and we're going to pass over the top. You're going to put man coverage on Amari, then he's going to beat you every time. You're going to play zone. I'm going to run it in your face and punch you in the face until you start stacking the box. That was who they were. So that I'm going to put Cowboys at 5, and I'm not not surprising. It's almost all NFC teams. So I think you put the Patriots against the Chiefs. I think the Patriots are going to win that game.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that Bill Belichick has taken another quarterback that really nobody wanted and done this. You can't discount the Chiefs. I mean, we're talking a top 5 power ranking that has changed throughout the year.
Oh yeah. Well, there's been a couple staples. The Cardinals, the Packers, the Bucks have been there for pretty much every one of them. Cowboys have been in and out of them. Rams have been in and out of them. Again, all NFC teams. The other ones have been the Titans. They've been mixed in. The Bills a couple times, but that's really it. There hasn't been really many AFC teams. That's why I just think, I'm not surprised. End of the year. Oh my gosh, look who's there. The Chiefs. What are the Chiefs? 8-4, 9-4?
No, they're
8-4.
Right now they are
8-4.
The Chiefs are 8-4.
Yeah.
The number 1 seed right now is the Patriots, 9-4. They haven't had their bye yet.
Right. So
they're half game back.
Right.
So
they're literally in the middle of it.
The team right now that is probably kicking themselves in their foot, disappointed in how their season is?
The
Los Angeles Chargers. They're 7-5.
Yes and no.
They're a game behind the Chiefs, and they lost at least 3 games they should have won, where they can control this division.
Yeah, but they're also a really young team with a new coach. They're still just learning how to win. I think they're playing better than where their talent level probably puts them. I think on defense, they're very limited. So I think they're playing above, mainly because of Herbert. I think Herbert's not getting enough credit for where they're at right now. I think he keeps them in every single game and puts them in gives them a chance to win. But I don't know. They're going to make the playoffs, and if you said beginning of the year the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs season as a wild card, that's a successful season for them this year. So
I agree with you, but at the same time, as a competitor, and I'm sure everybody on the Chargers organization, their coach Brandon Staley, they're all competitors. They had a chance to go out and be the number 1 team in the division with the team that's been to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row and won the
They beat
Super
the
Bowl.
Chiefs.
Yeah, but they beat them, but they're a game behind them in the standings, and they could be.
Now they are.
You know, they could be a game or two up. Now, I know we had a script, and I'm actually going to deviate real quick. I read today Brandon Staley, what he did with Bosa, how he would have put him back in the game last week because of his history with concussions after he had.
I read about that too. I did.
Where he had a head injury. They checked him for a concussion. It wasn't a concussion, but he refused to put him back in the game. And his statement was, "My players' health is more important than anything else we do. Player safety is, the top priority." I just want to say I respect what he did an awful lot. He's in the position where winning and losing games affects his livelihood. He loses enough games. He doesn't have a job. So for him to do that and put his player safety first, which the NFL talks about all the time, we're going to get into our next topic in a second, which is definitely evolving the same type thing.
Yeah,
I have nothing but respect for him.
I agree with you. I think, it's not enough goes into the Chargers aren't winning the Super Bowl this year. Let's get real here. They're not. The odds of them winning the Super Bowl, I think, are slim to none. Right? I'd give it less than 2% chance to win a Super Bowl. So, with that said, you're going to need him because I think they have a chance to win the Super Bowl in the next 5 years. They have that window. You're going to need Bosa. And if he turns into, look at all these guys that have gotten concussions and just tapered off. There's been guys that have retired early after 3 years in the league because of concussions. So I think it makes sense. I think it's a smart move. And I think there needs to be more long-term outlooks. Losing one game is not going to lose you the season. It's not.
No, but
and if it does, then that means you're not in a Super Bowl contention mode anyway.
Right. And to make the statement he made in a league where that's all they talk about, and going into our next topic now, I can have nothing but respect for the man.
Yeah, I have no respect for the league after this. So you can start if you want, because I'm going to start ranting.
So I'm going to give a little story real quick.
Okay.
I covered the Super Bowl last year virtually.
Okay.
And doing the press conferences, Tampa Bay, I get Antonio Brown. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to try and give a good question, get a great soundbite. He's going to say something crazy. I love it. Come up with a controversial question. Boy, is he a professional. He shut me down real quick, answered the question like a pro's pro, gave me no soundbite. I was so disappointed. Great answer. I couldn't say he was wrong for what he said. I forget the question of the answer. Was that memorable? But it was a good question, But now this week we hear AB suspended for 3 games, violating COVID protocols. I remember a couple of weeks ago, this guy who plays at Green Bay. I'm going to be there this weekend, actually. I am traveling to Green Bay to see this game.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's news to me. Breaking news on Sideline Sports.
I'm going to see Aaron Rodgers with a broken toe and all play football. Well, Antonio Brown is going to be sitting home because he violated COVID protocols.
The same protocols that Aaron broke too, right?
I mean, are we saying Aaron Rodgers is above Antonio Brown?
So I think, first of all, I just want to say, I think all this is ridiculous. I think it's totally stupid. Aaron Rodgers was COVID positive. He was around everybody without a mask. Nobody else got COVID that we know. I mean, nothing serious happened, right? Devontae Adams the week before had COVID. Nobody made a big deal about it. But Aaron Rodgers got super COVID because he was unvaccinated, right? Because if you're unvaccinated, you get super COVID. It's a different strain. I don't know. It's literally like South Park, right? This time portal follows Back to the Future rules, but this one over here follows Terminator rules. You can go forward in time, but you can't go backwards. It all makes no sense. It's stupid. Besides all of that, okay? What does make sense is the NFL has established a protocol, right? It's a workplace. Here's the protocol, okay? You violate the protocol, this is what happens, okay? That's the rules. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them is irrelevant. Those are the rules you have to follow, okay? The rule is you follow it. You don't, you get suspended. Aaron Rodgers didn't follow the rules. Okay. He got a $10,000 fine. Antonio Brown didn't follow the rules. Okay. What was the rule they both broke? They both misrepresented their vaccine status, apparently. We still don't. It's interesting how the details of Antonio Brown have been murky, right? You haven't really gotten any type of definitive answer. But they both didn't follow the rules. They both misrepresented their vaccination status. But Antonio Brown gets suspended for 3 games. I don't care. It's like they both did it. One wasn't more egregious than the other. They both did the same thing. And what I just can't stand is I can't stand how everything is political and race gets injected into everything, even if race isn't an issue. And the time where there's actually a significant issue to bring up about race, it's not brought up at all. If there was a time to bring it up, it's right now. Aaron Rodgers is white. He didn't get suspended. Antonio Brown is not white, and he did get suspended. You can say, yeah, he's a quarterback. I don't care. That's irrelevant. They're both football players in the NFL. I don't see color. I don't see position. It's a workplace. One gets suspended. They both get suspended. One doesn't. One does. Why? Why?
Because the NFL does not have equal justice for every player.
Say who it is. Say who it is. It's not the NFL. Who is it for real?
What do you mean?
Roger Goodell. He's the one that decides it.
Right, of course.
He's the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
But the owners can fire Goodell tomorrow. The owners can fire Goodell tomorrow. They have the power to do that. It's an ownership.
Yeah,
decision.
But they need a vote. I think they need a 2/3 vote to do that. I don't think they can just.
Right, but they could. Jerry Jones wakes up tomorrow and wants to.
No. If Jerry Jones could do it, he would have. That whole Zeke suspension thing was ridiculous.
I'm not saying he can get 2/3 of the vote. I'm not saying he can pull the numbers tomorrow, but the owners have the ability, if they're unhappy with Goodell, to do it. So to me, it's the NFL. Yes, Goodell is the guy in charge, but it's disgusting. Antonio Brown did the same thing as Aaron Rodgers. Why is Aaron Rodgers more important? He's a whining little child. He doesn't want to play where he's signed.
Putting it mildly, he's a diva, prima donna, little. Yeah, not gonna because we're on YouTube, so I'll keep it PG. But yeah, you know what I want to say, and that's what he is.
Can't win a big game. Won once. What's his record in NFC Championship games? 1 win. How many losses?
I mean, last year was the year he should have done it, and he can blame whoever he wants. I'm pretty sure that NFC Championship game wasn't anybody but his own fault. He played bad. He played bad.
I've had enough. I've had enough Aaron Rodgers for the years to come. You know, if he should go host Jeopardy because I don't watch it anymore. So maybe send him there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, we agree too much.
Listen, you came up with the topics this week. I don't like it. We're in agreement. But I told you before the show I agreed with you on this one. I mean, the rules are the rules.
Right.
Everyone should be treated fairly, you know.
And let me just say, I think what Aaron Rodgers got was sufficient. And I think that Antonio Brown should have gotten the same thing. That's my point. I think they both should have gotten a fine or suspended 1 game. Whichever one it is, pick one and that's it. But the fact that they're treated differently and the fact that the one time where you can actually say there is a race-type component, nobody talks about it.
But nobody talks about it. It's not even that they got treated differently. You're going from $10,000, which how much does Aaron Rodgers make? You know, that's like me taking a nickel off the floor.
I don't care about the money. Nobody cares about the money. It's
not about money.
No games and 3 games. That's the issue.
That's a huge difference. You're not talking about, okay, you got 1 game where it's the difference, but it's not a huge difference. 3 games, that's almost a quarter of the season. It's right below that.
It's ridiculous.
There's no reason. It's horrible. I'm disappointed.
Let's move on because we're running late today, so we got 2 more topics. Let's talk really. Let's touch briefly because again we agree on this one too. The Nlb Lockout. I don't know about you, but typically I'm on the owner's side in these types of situations because Usually the players are just trying to get more and more money, and it's more of just a negotiation tactic to say, well, we know the owners aren't going to want us to delay the season, so we're just going to push up the brink, get as much as we can, squeeze a nickel and dime and get as much as we can, and move on. That's typically how it goes. But this is one of the few times where I think the players are not only in the right, but completely in the right, and the owners are being completely ridiculous. I think that there is a significant amount of issues. You have a competitive balance issue right now where there's multiple incentives to tank and cut payroll and not pay players. You have a situation where you have a upper class for a select few players that make a ton of money, and a lower class, which is everybody else that makes no money. You have teams that have control over players for 7 years, essentially, because they manipulate – it's 6 years, but they manipulate service time. So they really get 7 years, right? So a guy comes up at 22, they control him until he's 29, and then he goes into free agency, and they say, well, based on WAR, your 29 through 34-year-old seasons, you're going to have a WAR of 4 each year. Well, I can bring up a guy that's 22 and pay him almost no money who's going to have a WAR of 3 each season or 2.5. I'm not paying you this much guaranteed money for, a 1 WAR every year. I'm going to pay that guy. And then they can go sign a superstar or pay their superstar. And it's a problem. It's a problem. It's essentially the teams control their players until they hit free agency. They use them for their useful years and then don't pay them when they're due for big contracts. And the stat that sticks out to me, I said this to you earlier. The stat that sticks out to me, the Yankees payroll in 2002 was $205 million. The Yankees payroll in 2022 or 2005 in 2022, 17 years later, is $205 million. Same payroll over 17 years. The difference is the valuation of the Yankees was $900 million in 2005, and it's approaching $5 billion in 2021, but soon to be 2022, right? So the valuation's gone up almost 6-fold, but payroll has essentially stayed the same. And there are so many issues, and I think there's some simple solutions. If a player comes up and plays 1 game in the majors, his clock starts there, and you get 5 years. 5 years. So now he plays when he's 22. They control until he's 27. Well, now he has on the 27, 28, 29, 30. You get 5-6 years of real, actual money-making years, right? Cut arbitration out. There should be no arbitration, period. End of story. You get 5 years of team control. That's it. You want to say they get arbitration during those 5 years? Sure, fine. But once 5 years hit, they go to free agency. Period. End of story. No questions asked.
So wait.
And then, go ahead.
Great. I agree with you completely on the player clock. That's completely absurd to have 6 years of a player control.
7. It's really 7.
Right, and then you start playing games with service time, and then guys get paid on what they do on the field.
Right.
So what comes out this week? MLB used 2 different types of baseballs this year. Two different types. One which traveled further, and one that didn't.
Right.
So now you have a guy that gets paid by what happens. The balls are supposed to be the same.
And it affects both sides, pitchers and hitters.
You're going to manipulate who uses what balls, and you're going to say, okay, your stats are worse. So when it comes to free agency, when you finally get to that magic number 7 years later, you're not going to get what you want because you had a bad season because MLB threw, those balls in 100 of your games, right? Where, a guy on another team had 40 games with good balls and bad balls. What kind of stupidity is this?
Listen, Manfred is somehow, some way, Manfred is worse than Goodell. I don't know how. It's amazing to me that basketball probably has one of the best commissioners of our generation, really. I mean, I think Adam Silver is he's really good at what he does and how he manages the NBA and how he markets the NBA and how the NBA has really, turned itself around. They have their issues too, don't get me wrong. But I don't think that's as much on him. That's definitely more on the owners when it comes to their issues with China and activism and all that stuff. And, you know, that's neither here nor there. But my point is that Manfred, this cutting out the game, like all these stupid rules to speed up the game. You want to speed up the game during the regular season? Okay, fine. All these stupid rules, though, need to go away in the playoffs. Every single one of them. They all need to go away in the playoffs. Needs to be bare bone. No clock. It goes as long as you want. Switch as many pitchers as you want. Nobody that cares about a playoff game actually wants to be restricted by these stupid rules. Have to pitch to 3 batters. Have to the runner on the second base. You want to have, like, you know, in between innings, you only get this many pitches. Okay, that's fine. Like, that stuff doesn't bother me. I don't think that that's ridiculous. But need to keep 1 foot in the box, like all that crap. It's disgusting. Playoffs are playoffs. Take your time. Take your time. So I just think, again, it just goes to the whole issue that's going on here in baseball in general. They have so many young stars. The opportunity right now for baseball to grow, I think, is immense. It's absolutely immense. And if they go to a strike over this, the owners being greedy, they are really going to shoot themselves in the foot. They might go to the number 3 sport by doing this. They really could. They really could. Listen,
baseball is its own worst enemy. Why change rules that, you know, this game's been played for 100 years? Why are we putting a runner on second? Because we want to shorten games and we want to let less wear and tear. You know what? Go to a point system.
Regular system, right? I agree with you. I'm okay with the runner on second in the regular season. I think 16, 18 inning games in the regular season where the win matters less than your bullpen for the next week. Like, we don't need those. We really don't. Like, in the playoffs where it's dramatic, sure, okay. But in the regular season, we have 162 games. That doesn't bother me as much, but it should be a point system, is what it should. It really should.
I'd rather it be a point system than
put the runner on second and do a point system. Do both.
Right.
I'm good with that.
That's fine, but yeah, because it's got to mean something if you get to extra innings when you're changing the way a game's won. That's just my own personal opinion. You can argue, you can say whatever you want. I think it's stupid.
I agree with you. I don't think I think it's actually exciting. Originally, I agree with you. I thought it was stupid, but the more I watched it, the more I was like, okay, like I can get behind this, but it should only be regular season, and they should really do a point system like hockey, where you know, if you win in, you know, every win is 2 points. If you get to extra innings, you each get a point.
Exactly. I can live with it that way.
I can live with it.
That way I have no issue.
Right, because if you lose with a runner on second, you still get a point, which I think it should be. I think you should get a point for that. I don't think it should be, you know, if you lose with a runner on second, it's 2 points, you know, essentially a win, right? I agree with you. I agree with you. So
the 3-batter minimum, what is that? If you're taking the game away from the manager and the team. If a guy is a lefty specialist and you got a lefty batter, and then you got 2 righties after that, if I decide to go to my lefty specialist, I got to hope he can pitch to righties now? Again,
regular season, okay. Regular season, you have to mix and match. You have to be smart with the way you manage. You have to deal with those rules. Okay, I can live with it because, like I said, regular season is a marathon. It's not a sprint. The playoffs are a sprint. The playoffs, when that matchup really matters, that's when you really need it. You have to win. You have to get 1 out. You have to get 1 spot. Okay, that's when it matters. But in a game in a regular season, like the rules, they just bother me a lot less in the regular season. They just do.
Yeah, but when you have a pennant race or a wild card race that comes down to 1 game and it comes down to 1
yeah, but it's the same thing with penalties. You know, like what have you put yourself in that position by losing other games? So don't put yourself in that position, especially with the point system.
When the rules been the rules for 100 years, we're going to start it now. It's stupid.
Yeah, but it's different. 100 years ago, we didn't have, you know, starters only going 5 innings and 800 relievers. And we didn't have that. I mean, you had guys that pitched both ends of a doubleheader. I mean, it was totally different then. So I get some of the rules like that one. I can get that one for regular season. Regular season games don't matter as much.
As a guy who's been to at least, I would say, close to 1,000 baseball games in my life by now, it's the worst thing in the world when you start seeing pitcher after pitcher change. I agree. But once you take the game away from the manager, why have pitching changes at all?
You don't, though. No.
You do.
It's just a different type of strategy now. You have to factor in that, okay, I put this guy in, he's got to face 3 batters. So now instead, I'm going to leave my starting pitcher in an extra batter because the lefty is a second in the inning. And that way he gets the first out. Well, then I'm going to put him in the second out. And if the inning ends, he only faces 2 batters.
You know what? If I'm managing my team, I'm telling my relievers as soon as they go in the game, listen, take a little pin, touch yourself somewhere. If I come out, you got an injury. That's it. Because
that's not going to fly well after a while. You want to say you can do that in pennant race games? Okay. But if you keep doing that, that's not going to fly well.
Tell them your feelings are hurt. It's psychological. We're in the society now where everything's psychological. So if he has a psychological injury, I'm taking him out. Because it's
not going to work.
It's stupid.
It's not. In the regular season, it's not. In the regular season, it's not.
It's a stupid rule.
And I mean, in the regular season, it's not. In the playoffs, totally agree. Playoffs need to be pure, but in the regular season,
why have a regular season?
I don't disagree with it. I think the regular season is too long as it is. But no, because when you have situations where the win matters less than saving your roster, your bullpen, I mean, that goes to show that wins aren't super valuable during the regular season. In the postseason, a win is everything. Everything. So
you don't get the regular season wins, you're not going to get to the postseason. So, but let's move on. This will have plenty of time to talk about when we get to baseball season and we see teams that get screwed by this rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's already been going on long enough, so I don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, let's move on to the final topic. Let's be quick with this one. The college coaching carousel. I wanted to include this. I wanted to talk about. I just thought it was really interesting because you had so many surprise, moving around, and I get it, but I don't get it, right? Like you had Lincoln Riley go from Oklahoma to USC. That one I kind of get because, I think this is more of a one of those forward-looking things, right? They're going to the SEC. I think Oklahoma is not going to be. They're going from big fish in little pond to little fish in big pond. So I kind of get that one. He saw the writing on the wall. He I think he also knew that this is the last year his team was going to be pretty good. I think Oklahoma is going to be, they were clearly taking a step back this year, and I think they're going to take a bigger step back next year. They don't have the defense to play in the SEC. I think he knew that, and I think he said, hey, now's the time to go build a program at USC where I have infinite resources. I have everything I could ever want. They bought him out of his house and paid him $500,000 over market. So
the Pac-12 is a winnable conference every year, and it's a good move for him.
I agree. To me, I get that one. The one I don't get as much is the Brian Kelly to LSU. I get it from the sense of, you're going into the SEC, a top program and everything, but I don't understand how you leave a team that was on the door of potentially a college football playoff berth. And the way he did it, I think Oklahoma didn't have a chance to make the college football playoff. And Lincoln Riley was like, all right, I'm out. I don't need to be here for, some stupid New Year's Eve bowl game that's totally meaningless, right? Like they still had something to play for potentially. And Brian Kelly just up and left. And I get the move from the sense of I think Notre Dame shoots himself in the foot by not being in a conference. They don't have a conference championship, so they had no chance for them to make a case to get in. They had to have other people lose. And that's the worst position to be in when you're cheering for people to lose to get in. But I think that it makes sense in the standpoint of you're going from that to LSU. He's getting paid money, but it's like, why are you going from Oregon to Miami, right? Diaz, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why? And then they're talking about how some guys might move back from NFL to college because there's more money in college.
There's a lot more money in college.
How does that happen? Like, what?
And you have more freedom. Because you have boosters in college.
That I get. You have more freedom in the sense of, you don't the players.
You're recruiting your team in college, where in the NFL it's the GM has the final say. So
it's not even
that's a big difference.
It's not even that. It's when you're coaching in the NFL, you're coaching a bunch of millionaires. You're coaching in college, you're coaching a bunch of hungry young athletes that are trying to make something of themselves. So they're more willing to listen and buy into your program than somebody who in the NFL is like, yeah, I'm making $25 million and go after yourself.
So I want to know what I really want to know. What was behind the Brian Kelly move? Because listen, I never liked Brian Kelly as the coach of Notre Dame. He did well. He's obviously the top one or two.
I think he's the winningest coach, and I think he passed the Holtz.
Yeah, so I mean, the winningest coach in the history of Notre Dame, but to me, just was never able to put a season together and be that team. And when they got to the playoffs, they got smoked. I get that they have recruiting challenges because they have the academic thing you have to have.
I mean, he never had the roster. I mean, he got more out of his rosters than Saban got out of his. Let's be real here.
But there has to be something behind that. First of all, the way it came out, it was an embarrassment to the university. It was an embarrassment to himself. Yes, he's getting paid, and I have no problem with coaches going to get money. That's their business. That's how they take care of their family. Yes, it's probably more money than he'll ever need in his lifetime, but why shouldn't he make the money? He has every right to do so. But to have the story leak out and have your players and your assistant coaches, when you read the articles of the assistant coach who left the recruit's house and said, I feel like a a-hole because I didn't know this was happening and I just left the recruit's house, how bad of a taste does that leave in your mouth? When you have players that are getting text messages in the morning, that I know you guys read the news article. Go ahead.
I think two things. Number one, I think LSU put him in a position to say, accept this now or we're moving on. And he had no choice. And I think he literally went on a plane, and when he landed, it got released without him knowing. So I think he was put in a little bit of a tough situation because I think he did want to do it in person. And he kind of got caught with his pants down. And I don't think that was the intention, but I think the issue is I think he wanted to leave because I think that he knew that they're not moving to a conference. They don't want to join the ACC.
They make too much money to be an independent.
Their schedule will never go to a conference. Trash this year. Their best team that they played, besides Cincinnati, who they lost to, was their best win was against Wisconsin, who ends up being a non-ranked team. And when your schedule is right. But it is their fault because they're not in a conference. That's the whole point. Is if they're in a conference, they'll play better teams.
North Carolina was ranked at the beginning of the year. Wisconsin was ranked really high at the beginning of the year.
Right.
Then they had Cincinnati. So they had three top teams right there, that they had scheduled to play. You can't fault them for that. They make way too much money between the NBC deal and the way they schedule their games to want to go to conference. Do I agree with it? No.
If you're in the ACC, you're going to play against teams that end up being ranked. If you're in the SEC, you're going to play against teams that are going to end up being ranked.
First of all, you're in the wrong conferences. They should be in the Big Ten. The ACC, I get it.
I don't care. Be in any of them. Look, at the end of the day, we're going to have consolidation anyway. I mean, you're going to see – I think the Big 12 is going to be done. I think it's going to be the four conferences. It's going to be Pac-12, Big 10, ACC, and SEC. And you may even see one of them merge too and make three super conferences. be honest, I'm really not opposed to that. I'd be more for that and the conference championship games kind of like gone and focus on playoffs. Like 18. There shouldn't be any more than 8 teams in a playoff.
No, it should be right now. If you kept it the way it is, you have the 5 big conferences, the one Power 6 school, and then the other 2, next top ranked.
I think you have 8. I'm good with 8. I think 8 is the right number because you can look at it this year, right? I'm going to pull up ESPN college football rankings. I'm going to pull it up real quick. And I think we're all going to agree. This is week 9. I don't want week 9. Come on. The computer is moving slow. I think this is the final ranks. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll just go through it, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with 1 or no losses at the top. Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. All 5 of them should be in. Period. End of story. Right? We agree with that? Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-loss teams, 1 3-loss Pac-12 champion. So I think that Utah is out. They have 3 losses. They're 10-3. Okay. You have BYU and Pittsburgh. I think they're both out. Pittsburgh, they won the ACC, but they do nothing for me. You have Michigan State. They're out. You have Oklahoma State that lost. I think they're out. Then you have Ohio State, Baylor, and Ole Miss. Ohio State, I think you should definitely have in. Baylor won the Big 12 and are 11-2. I think you put them in. So you have 1 left. And I guess you could make a case for Ole Miss, Michigan State,
I don't like it.
Utah, Pittsburgh. But my point is that you're at the point with 8 teams where that 8th team, okay, they get in, but Oklahoma State doesn't get in. They shouldn't be in. Ole Miss doesn't get in. I'm okay with that. Michigan State doesn't get in. I'm good with that. Pittsburgh doesn't get in. I'm good with that. Right? Like, there's no team here that didn't get in that I think, wow, they should be in.
You want to get Notre Dame into a conference? Really simple. You have 5 conferences right now. Top 5 teams. If you win your conference, you're in. That's 5 spots. The next 3 ranked teams, you could be number 3 like Georgia, or 4, whatever they are. They would be the first.
You get 3 at large bids. Yeah. Right. Well, there's not going to be 5 conferences. There's going to be 4. The 4 winners get in and 4 at large. I'm fine with that. Because, like I said, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincy, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Baylor, the top 7, clearly, they're all in. And then you have a hodgepodge. I mean, I'd probably put Utah in, to be honest. Even though they're 10-3, I think I'd put them in. But let's take it a step back. What if Oklahoma State wins last week, right? If Oklahoma State wins, they don't make it. Who?
That's why I say you do conference champions, and then you do the one big the group of 6.
The question is the number. How many get in? How many get in?
Right as of today, because we have to go with today's numbers. There's 5 big conferences, 5 power conferences.
No.
You have the group of
how
6.
many get in? What number are you saying?
I would go with 8.
Yeah, 8. It doesn't. Here's the thing: you can word 8 any way you want. With 8, the right teams get it. The only one that you're going to say is you're saying Pittsburgh should be in there.
Unfortunately, you're going to have that one time where you have a conference that is just bad one year. But let the conference get represented. And you know what? If the rules are clear, win your conference, win the championship game.
So then you're saying Ohio State's going to end up being – so you would have Ohio State out.
Ohio State would be out.
I have a problem with that.
It'd be Alabama, Michigan. Cincinnati would be the group of 6.
Group of 6 shouldn't always be in there.
You got to give them a representative. You got to get.
I disagree.
Because you still have 2 at-large bids.
No, I disagree. It should be 3 at-large bids. 3 at large, especially if you're going to do 5 conferences. It has to be 3 at large. Has to be. You can't have, if Cincinnati loses to Houston, you can't put Cincinnati in over Ohio State. You can't.
I don't know.
You can't, or put Houston in over Ohio State. No way. No way. A 1-loss Houston team? No way. No way. No way. I think 8 teams solves it, but I think
will tell you something. You watch the
condense it to
NCAA. You watch March Madness.
Of course.
They're up to 68 now, and there's still teams. When we get to 68, this team got screwed. This team should be in. It's never going to be solved. There's always going to be someone that should be in.
Yeah, I
agree.
You
want to fix it, win your
somewhat. Game. I agree somewhat. Basketball is a little bit different than football, though.
There's 300 Division I teams as opposed to 100, so that's the big difference.
Well, there's that, and there's just a difference in the sense of, in basketball, you can get hot and beat somebody you should never beat. Football, it's much hard, especially in college. It's much harder. You put, I don't know. Let's pull this up, right? Okay. So you had a 16 seed beat a 1 seed in college in March Madness, right?
One time.
Right. New Mexico State University. If they played Alabama 1,000 times, how many times would they beat Alabama? 0.
Yeah, if there's a number less than 0, that
0
can count for that.
So that's kind of what my point is that even in basketball, that would not be 0. In basketball, it's probably even substantially more than 1. So that's a big difference in that the talent matters. The talent disparity in football is far different than the talent disparity in basketball. It's not even close. It's not even close how different it is. So that's why I'm saying, like, you can't just give these Power 6 schools an automatic bid, because this year just happens you have a really good team in Cincinnati. But it's not like that every year. I mean, look,
you gotta give somebody. You gotta give them
the large kid solves that problem, though.
No, you gotta give them something to play for.
They have something to play for. They go undefeated. They get in.
They're already in the group of 6, which is 6 conferences. You got to give them something to play for. What are you talking about?
They go undefeated. That's what they play for.
Yeah, you're wrong.
How is that wrong? You go undefeated. You have to play undefeated.
So if you're undefeated,
an inferior schedule.
If you're undefeated, you should be number 1 right now, because you'd be the only undefeated.
Cincinnati should not be number 1.
They're undefeated.
Cincinnati should not be number 1.
How is it right that a team that hasn't won
2 years ago, you're going to put a number 17 overall Memphis 12-2 team in. You're going to put them in 17 overall. You had LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Oregon, and Oklahoma, I'm assuming. Okay, you have Alabama, you have Florida, Georgia, Penn State, all in the top 10. Some with 1 loss, some with 2.
All right, so if we go back
2019.
All right, 2019. Give me 1 second. So I'm looking something up as we speak. Right?
Memphis would have to be your team.
Whoever it is. That's what you get. That's their conference.
No.
You're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Nope.
Yeah, you are. You're wrong. If Memphis made that and got destroyed, which they would have.
What happened?
No.
You learn how to recruit better.
No.
Get better.
You sound dumb.
Nope. 100% right.
Okay.
If you want to do things the right way, you listen to JB Ellis. Give everyone their opportunity. You let people get their opportunity to get beat. You know, this year it'll be Cincinnati.
Survey says you lose.
This year
I
we
think
got
Cincinnati can win. Like Cincinnati's legit.
that ain't happening.
It's hilarious. They have to get him to get crushed.
Listen, we
They can
see
actually win this year. They are that good.
not going to happen.
Okay. You're wrong.
I am actually fascinated though to watch the Georgia-Michigan game. I want to see that.
They're very similar teams. I think Michigan's offense is better.
I think Georgia, which had a great year, lost the game at the wrong time, and there was the national title.
I think that look at their schedule. They didn't play any offenses. What offense did they play that was actually like a pretty good offense?
They play in the SEC, so they play.
Yeah, but they play in the wrong SEC division.
I get that, but they played some crossover games.
They didn't. Their schedule was weak. Let's go through it. All right, they played Clemson, who ended up being offensively very average.
This was a bad year for Clemson. Yeah.
Hold on. They played UAB, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, who ended up having a very mediocre offense. Auburn had an atrocious offense. Kentucky was good. Florida sucked. Missouri sucked. Tennessee sucked. Charleston Southern sucks. Georgia Tech sucks.
I got Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech, two really great teams, but Georgia Tech is a big rivalry.
But I'm just saying they played nobody. Their defense was overhyped. They played one good offense all year. They played one top 5 offense all year, and that team put 41 points on them.
I can't disagree with you looking at the schedule. I'm not going to say you're wrong.
Their schedule, Skip Bayless is the one that brought this up, and I was like, wow. Like, everybody's talking about their vaunted defense. They didn't play anybody that was that great. Kentucky was the only offense that was top 25. Auburn was a terrible offense. Arkansas, not a good offense. Arkansas was a good defense. Auburn was they played a bunch of defensive teams. That's it. So I think their defense is overinflated. I really do. They were primed to get spanked by Alabama. And I would not be surprised if Michigan wins this game handily. And I don't mean blowout 3-4 scores, but 24-14, 27-17, 27-21. Like, I would not be surprised if it was a 2-possession win for Michigan.
You know, I think we're going to see Michigan, Alabama, or we're going to see Alabama. Again, national champions, unfortunately.
Here's the thing. The difference between Georgia and Michigan is Michigan beats you with a pass rush. And that's kind of what Auburn did to Alabama was they had 4 guys getting pressure on Young, and they played zone coverage, and he wasn't able to do what he does in zone coverage. And another thing you have to remember is Mechie, their best receiver, he got hurt in that game. If he doesn't play, I think he was the one that beat the coverage. If he doesn't play, this could be the year for Michigan. It could be.
Listen, whoever wins that game, I want to see the national championship go to them. So we will see, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, more as we get closer to it.
Yep.
Anything else going on this week?
No, I'm away next week, so no show next week, but we will pick it up the following week.
Yes, some pre-Christmas festivities.
Something like that.
All right, guys. Where can they find you, Adam?
You can find me. Go to my Facebook page. I'm Gold CPA. Help with taxes. Tax season's coming up. AG Consultant. That's my business. You can also find me Golden Card Breaks. Gold's Cards and Breaks, my Facebook page. You have grading submissions. We do grading. We review cards, clean them, get awesome gem rates, make some money. Find me and hit me up.
JB Ellis, JB_the program on Twitter, NFL, NBA Carousel, Sideline Sports Network.
Bringing the heat.
The Inscriber magazine by sports section by Sideline Sports, DB&A Television. At the Green Bay Packers game this week, I'm just everywhere. The Islander game last week, St. John. Everyone loses, so good luck to the Packers this week. They're in for a beating because everywhere I go, the home team loses.
Let's go. Whoever's playing the Packers.
All right, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Be good.
Stay safe.